Well, Bev, this case is connected with a former Minister for Agriculture who is accused of corruption, and the allegations are that Firli Bahuri extorted him, and police in Jakarta claim that they've recovered about 700,000 Australian dollars worth of foreign currency, which they are linking to this Firli Bahuri case. So the allegation is that he extorted the former agricultural minister. Throughout the course of this corruption investigation, police say that photos have emerged of him meeting the former minister at various points. But as you said in the introduction, Mr Bahuri has been very firm in denying that any extortion or any corruption has ever taken place. And he held a press conference just a few days ago because he isn't detained, he is free to speak. And for that reason, we're going to see this kick along. But according to Indonesian law, if you're at the very least accused of corruption, if police say there is sufficient evidence to name you as a suspect in a corruption case, which is what's happened, then the President Joko Widodo has no choice but to force Firli Bahuri to stand down, and that's what's happened in recent days. Yeah.
It's been under investigation for a couple of months. Quite a number of witnesses, as we talked about, have been interviewed. How widespread could this be?
It could ensnare other prominent people in Indonesian political circles, and the timing is somewhat delicate because we are now in election mode, just a couple of months out from the presidential election on February the 14th. Not that there seems to be any particular direct link between Firli Bahuri's investigation and any of the candidates, but it is just delicate timing in general in Indonesian politics. We had President Joko Widodo today swearing in a new chief of the Corruption Eradication Commission to replace Mr Bahuri. So for that reason, business as usual is kind of continuing, I suppose, but against the backdrop of a decade in power where some people feel that there hasn't been a huge amount of progress on eradicating corruption, it is sort of an embarrassing scandal, I guess, near the end of Joko Widodo's time in power.
Yes, and to that point, of course, we know Joko Widodo won't be, seeking re-election. He has served the 2 terms he's allowed. As you say, not directly implicating any of the candidates, but of course we know his son is running as a candidate on a ticket. How problematic might that be, given this is the anti-corruption agency?
I don't see a great deal of domestic fallout in the election campaign sort of linking Firli Bahuri's case to Gibran Rakabuming Raka or to any of the other candidates. There are a few degrees of separation involved. We actually, sounds funny, we were speaking to Gibran Rakabuming Rama today because he was at one of the events at the Election Commission where all the candidates get together to sort of pledge to have a harmonious election campaign. When I say I was speaking to him, we had a few brief words. But the point is, in the domestic Indonesian coverage of this issue, it seems to be somewhat separated, and I don't think you should assume at this point that Gibran or any of the other candidates involved in the election are likely to be tainted by this. But as we were saying before, Bev, this investigation is ongoing. There is a huge number of witnesses, and you can't rule out that other prominent people in political circles could be implicated.
Yeah. And, Bill, to your point about perhaps a bit of dissatisfaction at what Jokowi has been able to do with regard to corruption across Indonesia, is it an election topic, the problem of corruption and how widespread it is?
In broadly defined terms, it is. You've had a couple of candidates, Anis, for example, recently, Ganjar. They have put out a list or a bit of a manifesto of policy, and there are commitments, broad commitments to strengthen anti-corruption measures or to be more forceful against corruption. So it's certainly something that voters are talking about. It's certainly something that candidates are talking about. But I don't see at this point a specific candidate trying to frame themselves as the great sort of fighter against corruption. They all vaguely are sort of talking about it in those terms. So we'll see as this unfolds. The sentiment, according to a survey earlier this year about people's general perception of corruption in Indonesia, was that over the last 10 years there isn't really a popular perception here that corruption has been tackled in any great way under President Joko Widodo. So we'll see ahead of the February 14 vote, Bev, if more is made of this issue.
Great to talk, Bill. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.